my childhood trauma followed me into adulthood, and it affected so many decisions, reactions, and the course of my life in many ways. Welcome back to Uncivilized Rebirth. I'm really glad to see you. And here, I want to create a place where I can share my experiences and lead you down a path of maybe self-discovery. And if you like this content, please follow, like, subscribe, and I want to grow this channel. And by you participating, it grows so I can reach the people I want to help. So as I go into my adulthood, there were things that I would shy away from and I totally avoided, and I didn't even know why. And that's because I had all of these glass ceilings put in me as a child, in my mind, and these experiences that were so horrible. My subconscious made sure that I stay away from anything that would possibly lead to one of those experiences that I had as a child. Even though my current reality wasn't that of being a child and that of being around these predatory adults, my subconscious would still guide me to safety. So if I felt uncomfortable or nervous about something, or I knew it could lead to failure, I would just totally avoid it. And I didn't know why. And I've already stated that. But it was the childhood traumas. So we'll take an example of I never had a backbone with women. As in, here's my stance, here's what I need to do, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to allow your emotions and you yelling or changing how you feel to affect my next thing that I'm going to do, which is consistent with my discipline because I have an expected outcome. And so I would see an emotional woman. She would get emotional, not liking what I was doing. And this is not anything against womankind, but in 40 years I've learned that women can have changes in their emotions and then expect a man to change what they're doing to make them happy. But in doing so, it gets that man off the path of discipline and creating an outcome. And this is not to say that's evil or wrong. It's just, I think, part of human nature. But I had to dig deep and be like, why do I always give in? Why won't I stand my ground? And it went back to when I was a child. And when my mother would throw fits, she would abuse me. And it was really, really bad. And so I learned I have to make the female happy. But what this did was it lowered my self-value. I never knew how to say no to a woman. And I always was seeking like a mother figure or some female to save me or take care of me, because I never had that as a child. So there was this longing there. And when I say I didn't have self-value, I was willing to date just any woman because I wanted a female that loved me. But in reality, I didn't hold myself to a standard, and I didn't see the value I had because my mother never gave me the feeling of me having value. And I also was scared of older women because my grandmother had abused me as well. And if you ask my family, they will lie about this, but that's fine. That's what families do in an abusive home. And so I was scared of older women. When they would start shaking her a little bit and say what they wanted, I would capitulate. And this was as an adult as well. This was also instilled with me with men. My father was abusive and very, very aggressive, not loving at all. And so when I saw these signals that he would be giving off emotionally or physically, I knew I better capitulate or this man is going to hurt me. That followed me into adulthood, even into the military, when there was times that I needed to stand my ground. If it was an older man I would give in. My nervous system would start kicking in. I would start feeling jittery, this energy of being overwhelmed, and I would totally pull away, and I would have this feeling of it's all my fault. When in reality, it was not my fault. My subconscious was pulling from memories of childhood to see how I should react in that moment. And it would trigger my nervous system. And then I would do whatever action it would take to make them happy and to get my nervous system to calm down. And I used to ask myself, it's like, I went to combat and I was at war. And I never felt this way. But with older adults, it would just trash me internally without them having to do anything. And so for years, I had to just live with that. And I would always feel so pathetic and cowardly because I couldn't stand my ground with older people. But then when I went in and did that inner work, that deep work of my childhood memories and healing those wounds, the way I did it is I created a character trigger, and I would go to my mental library and I would reformat these memories with the highest version of myself in them. And I would validate all my emotions, and then I would turn this into a PowerPoint, not as in teaching a class, but as in this point in my life was powerful because it showed how strong I was to be able to endure these terrible situations as a child. And now as an adult, I can share those situations to show other people that there's healing on the other side. That you can have a calm nervous system. You can stand your ground. You can be the person that you choose to be. And so in doing this work, I learned that the childhood trauma no longer has to dictate how I conduct myself as an adult. And then that frees me up to grow even more and to be the version of myself that I know I can be. And I no longer have these tethers pulling me back into the past and warping me where I am now. And that allows a person to break out of repeating behaviors, which puts us in cycles. And when we seasonally come up to certain situations and then we conduct ourselves in the same manner as we did the season before, it keeps us trapped in that cycle. But when we start freeing ourselves up from the past, choosing how we want to conduct ourselves in this moment, and sometimes that uses the character trigger, then we no longer repeat those behaviors. They become like echoes. We have this feeling of, oh, I want to do this way, or I want to act out this way or do this. That's just an echo, because now you're working on changing the patterns of the past to new behaviors into the future. And once I was able to free myself from repeating those behaviors, it became uncomfortable because I didn't know what comfort felt like. I was comfortable in the uncomfortable, if that makes sense. I felt normal when I would get those high, some people say, I wouldn't say vibrational, but those triggers in my nervous system that felt comfortable because I was used to that, and then I would protect all that. But when you don't feel that feeling, or I didn't, it felt strange. I was like, what is this? And I had to get comfortable and get used to feeling that it's okay to feel that way. And it was so freeing. So childhood traumas, they are horrible. It's not okay. I know that the parents will never give an apology. They'll never admit to it because that stuff is worthy of going to jail. So lying is their primary defense. And that can be hurtful. And that can be triggering and rewounding. But when I no longer act out my emotions from those original woundings, the rewounding, the triggering, it frees me up from the past. And it allows me to move into the future as a better version of myself. There's deeper work on this, and I teach it in my community. I coach you through it, the Uncivilized Rebirth program. If that's something you're interested in, you can join me there. Start that inner self-discovery and finding out who you can really become. But I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you're listening, because I know that this message is for somebody. And I want you to know that there's freedom from those past memories to be able to be the version of you that you want to be. And I know it's in you, and I believe in you 100%. Roadhouse, Spiritual Hard.